Greetings and welcome back. It's your host, Gabe Morales. The California Men's Colony is located just south of the wine country of Paso Robles, where a California Youth Authority facility was also located. And the prison is located south of Atascadero, where an infamous mental health facility is located. CMC is just southeast of the scenic Morro Bay, where my wife's family has a family reunion every year, and it is north of Santa Maria and Santa Barbara, with Bakersfield being to the east. CMC is comprised of two physically separated complexes, commonly referred to as the East and West facilities. The West facility opened in 1954 when an old military hospital section of Camp San Luis Obispo was selected as the site of a new prison. In late 1954, a busload of 50 men arrived from Folsom Prison and were specifically selected for skills in carpentry, plumbing, and construction trades. They then remodeled 59 buildings in what became known as the West Facility. A month later, the prison was ready for occupancy. The median age of incarcerated men at the time was approximately 54 and a half years old, and officials stated that the primary purpose of the institution were to provide specialized housing for elderly, infirmary, and disabled offenders in a physical and custodial setting away from younger offenders. I never worked at CMC, but have two good friends who did in the 1980s. Well-respected retired CDC gang investigator Devin Hawks, who's a frequent guest on some YouTube channels and is still considered one of the best gang experts to ever work in the department, was at CMC early in his career. And David Contreras, a retired gang investigator who runs a couple of YouTube channels, started his career at CMC East, working C-Quad for a year and a half. And it was there that he met and became good friends with Devin. Contreras eventually transferred closer to home and helped activate R.J. Donovan Prison in 1987. And later moved over to the streets, working drug cartel and street gang cases with San Diego PD. The West facility of CMC currently houses level 1 and level 2 offenders, and is divided into 4 independent facilities in a dormitory type setting. These hold general population who mostly are part of work crews. The majority of the inmates on these yards in the 1980s were Border Brothers, even though that group was not yet very organized as a security threat group, which happened later, and split off into two main groups, the BBs and the Paisas. The East facility opened in 1961 and currently holds level 3 inmates. It is divided into 5 independent facilities, A, B, C, D, and H. But at one time, some level 4 PCs were also housed there. B Quad was where most of the dropouts were located and was also the site of the administrative segregation unit. Today, facilities A through D house medium security, non-designated program inmates. Facility H is a standalone 50-bed mental health crisis unit that opened in August of 2013. Each facility also contains a correctional treatment center and a medical unit that provides a hospital ward environment for CDC inmates from around the state who are transferred there for their medical needs. Many prison gang members have been housed at CMC over the years, in particular dropouts. Familia Cinco member Ray Aragon from Chiques was housed at CMC East in the 1970s and later turned Christian. In 1972, NF shot caller Arturo Mosqueda de Fresno was housed at CMC. This was about 10 years before most of the Fresneros split off to form the Bulldogs. After the Rodolfo Cheyenne Cadena murder of December 1972 that I've mentioned in several videos, NF members Ramon Tiny Contreras Ledesma from San Juan and Frank Joker Mendoza from Redondo Beach were both housed at CMC. I understand that Contreras was finally released not too long ago, and Mendoza was killed by his cellie, a Fresno Bulldog, on September 30th, 1998 at Corcoran. In 2012, a dozen Northern Hispanic gang members staged a coordinated assault against members of a much larger Southern Hispanic population at CMC West facility. This is very typical activity that I've seen of norteños, who are almost always outnumbered on yards. They call it getting off first. After the fighting was quelled by prison staff employing batons and pepper spray, more than 2 dozen combatants were restrained. All of the northern Hispanics were removed from E or Echo Yard, although a similar skirmish erupted on F Unit or Fox Yard the following morning in a dormitory there. This was about the time that corrections officials started to reintegrate northern Hispanics on several CDC yards, even though a lot of staff were concerned and protested against this, as they know that an incident would happen. And don't forget, when inmates fight, CDC staff also often get injured. Many people point out that these cases, and others like it, show that authorities often lack foresight or knowledge of the long antagonistic sentiment among warring factions. Some even state that they set up inmates to be victimized, and understand that currently there are several lawsuits into CDC authorities how they operate the department, as many inmates have been killed in recent years and many more injured. Others point out that segregating prisoners to certain facilities only lets them manipulate the system to try and control their housing assignments, as they will often take over facilities where they are the majority. For instance, the Fresno Bulldogs have long acted out at other facilities until they are moved to where they want to or to segregation, and are a problem being housed anywhere they go, as mentioned in a recent Vice TV episode. In the year 2019, there was a riot 2 days in a row at CMC.
This just into our newsroom. A riot at the California Men's Colony is under investigation. Prison officials say it happened at around 1:15 this afternoon. They say it involved 40 inmates. Officials say a group of 20 inmates rushed a group of 10 inmates, and then another group of 10 inmates joined the attack.
CMC officials say at least one inmate manufactured weapon was recovered at the scene. 4 inmates sustained slashes or stab wounds. 2 were taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. No staff were injured.
There have been some past former MA members housed there as well, such as John Green Eyes Hallman from San Diego Logan Heights, who had a C number and was a validated Mexican Mafia member from the 1980s. I believe from CMC he was later transferred to Tehachapi, and I heard OD'd. Pastor Mero Frisco Dave, aka Davi Perez, was also housed there. He was involved in the 187 of a Donald Ramirez on February 29, 1976, and dropped out of the MA at San Quentin in 1983. As explained in my SAM video, after doing several hits in the early 1980s, including a murder with longtime shot caller Robert Blinky Griffin of an AB who fell out of favor named T-Bone Gibson, Junior Snyder was sent from CIM to Folsom 4A, then was housed at CMC East, and after many years in prison, was finally released to Bakersfield, and I understand died of cancer in late 2004. There were several other AB dropouts or associates over the years have been housed there, such as Philip Cheek Adder and Bobby Bosolo, convicted murderer associated with the Manson family, as well as Bruce McGregor Davis, who participated in 2 Manson family murders, and Charles Tex Watson, who was convicted in several murders for the family. Later on, Tex turned Christian and operated a nonprofit ministry. He was then transferred to the medium security Mill Creek State Prison after it opened, as several PC cases have been housed there over the years. And last I checked, validated Aryan Brotherhood member Todd Ashker, who I had at New Folsom when he killed an AB named Dennis Murphy on orders from Wendell Blue Norris, who felt that Murphy was not kicking back funds or drugs to Blue as he should have, was recently housed at CMC. Some, such as ex-P9 member Jason Powder Cummings, say that Ashker was made no good for either displaying psych issues or for meth use, but others say that he's still considered good. I believe Ronald Yandell, who worked with Todd, the main author of the End of Hostilities Agreement, states that Ashker is still good. Ashker defended himself and said that he was tricked into signing documents. He was put in a bad situation because he was tricked into signing documents to start the debriefing process, but denies he ever had any intention of doing so, and that staff just caught him at a real bad time in his life. There have also been some black gang members housed at CMC as well. Like I said, it was usually PC cases, many times prison gang dropouts, who were housed at CMC. But sometimes they're really just sleepers who tried to lay low, then get at former gang members. I believe one such incident occurred at CMC when a couple of younger BGF named Aaron Caslin and Terry Tate, who were part of the I Stand Firm faction of the Jama, attacked Rodney Warren, who wanted to leave the group. Both of the assailants were charged with attempted murder and, as I call, later left the BGF as well. Another individual, Johann Y.C. Kraus, who was identified by CDC as being a BGF member, was housed there in the year 2015. Other notable inmates who have been housed at CMC over the years are Christian Brando, son of actor Marlon Brando, who was convicted in 1991 for killing his half-sister's boyfriend, Dragdor Lay. Christian was released in 1996 after serving half of a 10-year sentence in 1995. A year before Christian was released from prison, his sister Cheyenne died by suicide by hanging herself at her mother's house in Tahiti. She was only 25 years old. Huey P. Newton, co-founder of the Black Panther Party, was at CMC between 1968 and 1970. The documentation I have is that he was confined to a cell, basically on lockdown most of the time, because he refused to work. Maulana Karenga, leader of the United Slaves organization that often conflicted with Newton's Black Panthers, was also the founder of the Kwanzaa tradition. He was incarcerated at CMC in 1971 after being convicted of felony violence against a woman victim who testified that he had tortured her. Ike Turner, one half of the infamous Ike and Tina Turner singing duo, served 18 months of a 4-year sentence at CMC in 1990 and 1991 for cocaine possession. Rap music producer Suge Knight was incarcerated at CMC in 1997, but later transferred to Mule Creek State Prison. He then got out of prison, but just couldn't stay out of trouble, and is back in CDC. As I showed in a previous video, Timothy Leary, psychologist known for his support of psychedelic drug therapy, was imprisoned at CMC after being sentenced in March of 1970 for possession of marijuana, but escaped from the Minimum West facility in September of that year, with assistance from the radical Weatherman organization. After spending time with the Black Panthers' Eldridge Cleaver in Algeria and attempting to gain political asylum in Switzerland, Leary was arrested in Afghanistan in early 1973. After being convicted of escape, he was sent to the California Medical Facility in Vacaville. Danny Masterson, actor best known for his work on the sitcom That 70s Show, was incarcerated at CMC as of February 2024 after being convicted of rape. Masterson has been sentenced to 30 years to life in prison, but I understand is appealing his case. In the year 2023, CMC had a maximum capacity of 4,480 inmates when Governor Gavin Newsom announced that he would be shutting down part of the facility due to reduced inmate populations in the state.
Tonight we are learning more about how the partial closure of the California Men's Colony will impact the local economy and community organizations. KSBY reporter Austin Herbaugh has more on today's announcement.
What is known as the west end of the California Men's Colony is set to close at some point in the near future, although no exact date has been announced just yet. A big shakeup is set to impact one of the largest employers in San Luis Obispo County. The California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation announced on Tuesday that the west facility of the California Men's Colony is slated for closure. The west end of the prison houses low-level security inmates and offers therapy programs like anger management and substance abuse education, as well as career and technical training. The east end facility that houses medium security inmates will remain open.
Of course, even though there have been some violent incidents at CMC, there's also been a lot of positive programs, such as a job apprentice program and other positive efforts by offenders as well. I know that many offenders also found God inside the walls, and that is great. It's too bad that they had to learn the hard way, but I applaud these inmates and anybody else who tries to bring more awareness about the human spirit, and I have empathy for any staff who work there, lost their jobs, had to relocate, or find other employment in these tough economic times. Well, even though it was short, I hope you learned something new in this video and continue to be grateful for what you have, as your freedom and livelihood can be taken away at any second. For now, this is Gabe Morales signing off for gangsters, cops, and politicians.